welcome to this session of Q&A Plus. Today's question comes from Nick, and Nick writes, "My wife and I have been married for just over 6 years. It was great the first few years, then it got snippy. These days it's tough just being around each other, and the way we're going, I'd be surprised if we were together for our 7th year. I don't think you can help us, but I figured what the heck, maybe you could." Well, Nick, thank you so much for that question. There's so much in that question that I really want to take a little time in this and in a series of videos to really explore what I think gets to the heart of your question, which is, what are the stages of relationships that people go through? I know this would have been very helpful to me when I was starting out in my own relationship. I know it would have been very helpful to others whom I've worked with in their own relationships, and hopefully will help you and our other forum members as we go through these stages. So what I'd like to do is actually produce a series of 6 short videos. This is the first one, and what I want to do in a moment is to outline the various stages of relationships that make the most sense to us who moderate the forum, talk about each of them, and then talk about, in the last video, what are the ways that understanding the various stages of relationship can really help you to find, to build, and to deepen the kind of relationships that I imagine you really want. So let's get started. Now, do you remember a film that came out a few years ago called A Curious Case of Benjamin Button? Brad Pitt starred in it, Cate Blanchett was in it. It's a fascinating film, and the story is essentially about a person who is born as an old man. Brad Pitt is an old man when he's born, and as he gets older, i.e. as time passes by, he gets physically, emotionally, and psychologically younger, so that at the end of his life, he is approaching being an infant. Now, part of what's fascinating about this film is that the aging process is reversed from what we know. And what we do know is that there is a predictable set of stages that human beings go through. We're born, we're infants, then we're children, then we somehow get through adolescence, we become an adult, we reach older age or old age, and then we die. That is predictable in real life, not in fiction, not in movies. Everybody goes through those stages. Now, the important point here is that there are very similar predictable stages that relationships go through. Now, are these as hardwired as they are with physical development? No, they're not. But they are pretty predictable. And the advantage here is that if we can understand what these stages are and see where we are in a relationship, what stage we're in right now, and what are the typical issues and resolutions within that stage, it can be very, very useful to help us to build, maintain, and develop those kind of relationships that we want. Okay, so given that, let me quickly go through what the stages are, and then in the subsequent videos within this Stages of Relationship series, we'll explore each of them. So, what I want to present to you is that there are 4 stages of relationships that most people go through. The first stage is what we call the honeymoon stage. When people first meet, and you can imagine what that involves, and again, we'll go into much detail in the next video. The second stage is what we call the Laurel and Hardy stage. The third one is the Three Stooges stage, and the fourth one is the resolution stage. And as you'll see when we get to that video, there are several possible outcomes that people will achieve in their relationship. And then the last video that we'll show you has to do with the value and the benefit you get from understanding the stages and understanding which stage you are in right now. Last thing before we get to the next video. Remember Nick's question where he talked about that he and his wife, it started out, it was great, then it got snippy, and now they can barely stand each other. Think about your own relationship. Whether you've been together 2 years, whether you've been together 20 years, it really doesn't matter. Just get a sense of the various evolutionary stages that you have been through in your relationship with your partner. And so as we go through the next videos, next series of videos, and we talk about each of these stages, get a sense to what degree they reflect your own evolutionary stages. And as we talk about what are the key issues in each of those stages, again, see how it relates to you, see what you can learn, and see how you can use that information to deepen your own relationship.